think I made 100 million if you count off the field, everything.
100 million.
Yeah,
For sure.
for sure.
How much did you spend of that 100 million?
Well, I just filed Chapter 11 bankrupt. You know what I mean? So
did we go
I
through?
spent all of it. I blew all my
spent
money.
it all?
Yeah, I blew everything.
Antonio Brown didn't just fumble the ball, he fumbled his entire life. From $100 million empire to claiming he's got less than 50 grand to his name, the man has gone from NFL royalty to reality TV level train wreck. And now Shannon Sharpe, the same guy who's been dragging AB for years and is unloading his most savage, unfiltered, I told you so yet. We're talking bankruptcy, shady property deals, unpaid bills to plumbers, and a trail of self-destruction that ends with attempted murder charges. This isn't just a fall from grace, this is a public flaming nosedive. Buckle up, because by the end of this, you'll see why Shannon didn't just predict AB's collapse. He practically wrote the script. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor if you appreciate this content. Please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now back to the video. Let's rewind for a second because Antonio Brown's meltdown didn't happen overnight. It was years in the making, and every single chapter is messier than the last. We're talking about a man who went from catching Super Bowl touchdowns to catching court dates like they were passes. By May 2024, the headlines hit. AB files for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in Florida, claiming he's got less than $50,000 in assets while owing close to $3 million. But this wasn't just, oops, I overspent. No. This was a financial implosion so spectacular, it had the bankruptcy court suspecting hidden assets, shady property transfers, and straight-up lies, and hovering in the background through all of it, Shannon Sharpe, the Hall of Famer turned sports media pitbull who had been sounding the alarm on AB since 2017. While fans made excuses for Brown's eccentric behavior, Shannon was connecting the dots, the unprofessional stunts, the legal dust-ups, the arrogance, the refusal to take accountability. Now, with the dust settling on AB's NFL career and his reputation in tatters, Shannon's commentary has aged like fine wine. If that wine was served with a side of I told you so, so strong it could knock you out. Antonio Brown wasn't just rich, he was set for life. At his peak, the man had over $100 million in NFL contracts, endorsement deals, appearances, and side hustles. That's generational wealth. But like we've seen in too many can't touch me celebrity stories, the cash didn't just evaporate, it was burned. Lavish mansions, fleets of luxury cars, private jets for weekend trips, and enough jewelry to blind an entire press conference. By May 2024, the bubble burst. AB filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in Florida, claiming his fortune had shriveled to under $50,000. Sounds tragic, until you see the receipts. Court filings showed nearly $3 million in debts, from unpaid credit cards to stiffed contractors and yes, even unpaid child support. Then came the whispers. And by whispers I mean loud court-documented suspicions that AB was playing hide and seek with his money. Property mysteriously transferred to family members, income streams rerouted, assets conveniently undervalued. And here's where Shannon Sharpe's words echo like prophecy. Years earlier, he warned that AB's ego would drain his bank account faster than any bad investment. Turns out, ego wasn't just draining the account, it was detonating it. This wasn't just financial mismanagement. This was a blueprint for self-destruction. AB didn't lose millions because he didn't know better. He lost millions because he thought he was above better. And the bankruptcy? That was just the opening act in a drama that would soon make even bigger headlines. When Antonio Brown's bankruptcy paperwork hit the court, it wasn't just the numbers that raised eyebrows. It was the moves. Within months of creditors closing in, properties AB once proudly flaunted were suddenly transferred to relatives for suspiciously low amounts. Cars that had been Instagram trophies, gone from his name. Business ventures, either dissolved or rebranded under someone else's control. Creditors and court officials weren't buying the innocent act. They suspected AB was running a shell game, hiding assets in plain sight while crying broke on paper. Chapter 11 isn't meant to be a celebrity disappearing act. It's meant for honest restructuring. But when your financial trail looks more like a magician's trick, the court starts watching every move you make. And this wasn't some first-time slip-up. AB had a history of forgetting to pay people, from personal trainers to small businesses, often while flaunting new toys online. It's a classic playbook. Live large, stash assets, declare bankruptcy, and hope no one connects the dots. Unfortunately for him, the dots were practically glowing neon. And once the public started piecing them together, his downfall stopped being just about money. It became about credibility. Antonio Brown's bankruptcy filing read less like a financial statement and more like a rap sheet. Nearly $3 million in debt, and the list of people he owed was as diverse as his controversies. Unpaid credit cards stretching into six figures. Contractors who claimed they finished luxury renovations only to be ghosted. Personal trainers and chefs who provided months of service without a dime. And the big one, child support arrears that painted a picture of a man prioritizing flashover family. The problem wasn't just that he owed, it was how he owed. These weren't massive failed investments or a bad stock market gamble. These were everyday obligations, bills that any functioning adult, especially one who had earned over $100 million, could and should have handled. Shannon Sharpe had been hammering this point for years. If you can't manage your money will manage you, straight into the ground. And here it was, in black and white court filings. AB didn't just blow through wealth, he left a trail of scorched relationships and unpaid tabs in his wake. The debt wasn't just financial, it was reputational. And in the sports world, once your credibility is gone, the contracts dry up faster than your bank account. If you listen to Antonio Brown tell it, none of this was his fault. Bankruptcy, just a strategic business move, millions in debt, fake news, asset transfers to family, helping out my people. AB spun his downfall like he was still running a highlight reel, twisting every red flag into proof of his genius. On social media, he doubled down, posting luxury shots, dropping cryptic captions about loyalty and haters, as if the court filings didn't exist. He wanted the public to believe he was still untouchable, still in control, still the boss. But here's the thing about spin. It only works if your audience is willing to ignore the scoreboard. And by now, everyone could see the score. AB was losing badly. The game wasn't about yards anymore, it was about credibility, and he was fumbling every down. Long before the bankruptcy headlines, Shannon Sharpe was ringing alarm bells so loud you could hear them over AB's endless self-promotion. On Undisputed and in interviews, Sharpe never minced words. Antonio Brown was burning through goodwill, opportunities, and cash faster than any player he'd ever seen. Sharpe's criticism wasn't just about the on-field antics, though walking off mid-game and clashing with coaches didn't help. It was about the pattern. Unpaid debts, public meltdowns, impulsive spending, and a refusal to take accountability. Sharpe warned that no matter how much talent you have, the NFL isn't a lifetime membership. The moment you become more trouble than you're worth, the league moves on, and once the checks stop, the lifestyle doesn't sustain itself. He even predicted the exact scenario we're seeing now. A former superstar, surrounded by yes men, ignoring advice, convinced his brand was bulletproof. Sharpe called it the fast track to broke, and AB treated it like background noise. But here's the twist. Sharpe didn't just gloat when the bankruptcy news broke. He framed it as a cautionary tale for younger athletes, proof that no one is immune to consequences. Still, you could see it in his eyes during those segments. A quiet, I told you so satisfaction that every warning he'd given had come true. AB thought he was rewriting the rules. Instead, he became the textbook example Sharpe had been warning about for years. By the time the bankruptcy papers hit, Antonio Brown's downfall didn't look like a sudden collapse. It looked like the inevitable final chapter in a years-long demolition job he'd been running on himself. The signs were always there. Teams lined up to give him chance after chance, and he torched every one of them. Late arrivals to practice, bizarre mid-game walkouts, public feuds with teammates, verbal jabs at coaches. Then came the lawsuits, unpaid wages to personal staff, disputes with landlords, allegations from business partners he allegedly stiffed. Every time AB brushed it off, blamed someone else, or turned it into a spectacle on social media, it wasn't bad luck, it was a blueprint. A steady drumbeat of chaos that made franchises, sponsors, and even former friends step back. The NFL is full of guys with egos, but it rarely forgives those who mix arrogance with unreliability. What made it worse was AB's refusal to recognize the pattern. Instead of course correcting, he doubled down, chasing attention, not stability. He acted like the rules didn't apply to him, forgetting that in pro sports, the rules aren't suggestions, they're survival. By the time he filed for bankruptcy, the money was gone, the bridges were burned, and the doors were closed. It wasn't one bad season, it was years of detonating his own career, one reckless choice at a time. For Antonio Brown, the bankruptcy wasn't rock bottom. It was just another mile marker on a downhill sprint. Because once the money's gone and the spotlight fades, bad decisions don't just disappear, they escalate. The lawsuits had already stacked up like unpaid bills on a kitchen counter, but now they started giving way to something far worse: criminal charges. Domestic disputes making headlines, police reports surfacing, public confrontations caught on camera. Suddenly, AB wasn't just a sports story, he was a cautionary tale playing out in the crime blotter. It was the natural progression of a life run without breaks. The same impulsivity that made him walk off fields, lash out online, and blow through millions was now dragging him into courtrooms and police stations. And every time, the narrative was the same: denial, deflection, and a public performance for his dwindling fan base. But here's the brutal truth: you can't charm your way out of a legal system. Judges don't care about your highlight reel, prosecutors don't care about your Super Bowl ring, and the police definitely don't care about your Instagram following. From end zone celebrations to mug shots, AB's trajectory wasn't a mystery. It was a straight line, and if history has taught us anything, it's that the final chapters of stories like this don't end with redemption speeches. They end with a public record that never goes away. AB's career may have ended on the field, but his real battles are only just beginning. If you thought Antonio Brown's rap sheet had peaked, think again, because this next chapter reads like something out of a crime drama. Reports surfaced tying AB to an attempted murder incident, and suddenly, his name wasn't just trending in sports gossip circles. It was stamped across police blotters in bold, ugly ink. The details were explosive. Witness statements, surveillance footage, and a trail of chaos allegedly connecting AB to a violent confrontation that could have turned fatal. This wasn't a bar fight, and it wasn't a misunderstanding. Prosecutors weren't tossing around attempted murder as clickbait, they were deadly serious. For years, AB had flirted with trouble like it was a brand strategy. Public meltdowns, verbal threats, and reckless behavior were part of the act. But now, the stage lights were gone, and the only spotlight left was the one in an interrogation room. His camp, predictably, went on the defensive. Misunderstood, targeted, blown out of proportion, the same recycled lines we've heard after every scandal, but the difference this time is that the stakes aren't a suspension or a lost endorsement deal. The stakes are decades behind bars. What's chilling is how perfectly this fits the arc of his downfall. The arrogance, the refusal to take accountability, the obsession with proving he's untouchable, it all adds up. Because when you live in a self-made reality where the rules don't apply, it's only a matter of time before you hit the one wall you can't run around, the criminal justice system. If this case sticks, it won't just be the end of Antonio Brown's public career. It'll be the final nail in the coffin of a man who mistook chaos for power. When the heat turned up, Antonio Brown didn't stand and fight, he bolted. Warrants were issued, Headlines screamed "wanted," and AB was suddenly living life on the run. This wasn't the glamorous globe-trotting of a retired superstar. This was motel rooms under fake names, burner phones, and friends dropping off the radar to avoid association. Social media, his favorite stage, went dark except for cryptic posts and bizarre videos meant to taunt the public and law enforcement, but the bravado looked hollow. Behind the scenes, sources whispered about paranoia, erratic movements, and a man spiraling deeper into isolation. The fugitive life isn't built for long-term survival, especially when you've spent your career chasing cameras. Every sighting was a news alert, every rumor a potential lead for the cops. AB had gone from celebrated wide receiver to a wanted man, trading stadium cheers for police sirens. And as the net closed in, one thing became brutally clear. You can't outrun consequences forever, no matter how fast you were on the field. By the time Antonio Brown's life had unraveled into bankruptcy, criminal charges, and fugitive status, there was one man sitting back with that "told you so" grin: Shannon Sharpe. For years, Sharpe had been the lone voice cutting through the hype, warning anyone who'd listen that AB's talent couldn't outrun his ego, recklessness, and self-sabotage. Clip after clip resurfaced, Shannon calling out AB's antics, predicting the exact trajectory we're watching now. He wasn't being petty, he was being prophetic. Every chaotic headline, every bad decision, every public meltdown fit perfectly into the blueprint Shannon had laid out long before the collapse became obvious. And now, as AB's name sits in court dockets instead of game day programs, Sharpe's credibility has never been higher. Fans who once rolled their eyes at his hater takes are now flooding comment sections with apologies and agreement. Shannon didn't just win a sports debate, he closed the book on an entire era of wasted potential. In the end, AB's downfall wasn't a shock to Sharpe. It was the inevitable final chapter of a story he'd been narrating from the very beginning. Antonio Brown's story isn't just a fall from grace, but it's a masterclass in how to torch a legacy in record time. From millions to bankruptcy, from Pro Bowls to police bulletins, this was the slow-motion car crash Shannon Sharpe warned us about. And here on NFL Decode, we break it down exactly how it is. No fluff, no PR spin, just the real story the mainstream won't touch. So if you want more raw truth and insider breakdowns like this, hit that subscribe button, smash the like, and share this with every NFL fan you know.